What's up, guys? I'm Landon from Shoeware, and today we're putting the newest models from Kevin Durant and LeBron James shoe lines with Nike head to head to see how they compare. But, really quick, if this is your first time checking us out, feel free to drop a follow or subscribe wherever you're watching and give this video a like. We would greatly appreciate that. So, first taking a look at the box and the price. Nothing special for the KD14 box. They do come in all black box with his initials right there kind of centered on top. But the LeBrons, they do have a little more detail going on. They come with a gray and brown box with, a slightly more unique opening setup. But as for pricing, there is a decent separation there with the KD14s retailing for $150. So that's going to be pretty middle of the pack. But the LeBron 18s do fall on the more pricey side at $200 even for retail. So before I get into the performance comparison, I want to do a quick rundown for the appearance for both of these models first. So starting off with the colorways, we're checking out the Nike KD14 Lime Glow versus the LeBron 18 Goat Vision. So, two pretty fun color schemes. The LeBron is actually sort of a team up with WNBA star Diana Taurasi just for this specific design. It kind of features some of her accomplishments and stuff on there. So, I thought that was pretty cool. But focusing on the look for both models, starting with the KD14, I'm honestly a much bigger fan of this year's design compared to the KD13s. They added the strap on here, of course, and I've kind of grown to love the strap on basketball shoes, even if it is just for looks alone. But there's also a wavy design on the back of the shoe, kind of near the heel, and the upper has a cool feel to them. And I really do kind of like that Nike air bubble that you see on the side on the midsole. But then switching it over to the LeBron 18, I have been a fan of the last few models, and honestly, these are no different. The upper has a cool design to it. I think these do flow nicely kind of from front to back, especially where the materials kind of like have that break or that change, midway through the shoe. And then on the tongue, you have a few air bubbles kind of running up the middle, even though, the tongue is a little bit too big in my opinion. But then jumping to the back, you have that, of course, the signature LJ logo with the crown in the middle since he goes by the nickname King James. So, definitely another clean looking shoe for LeBron's 18th signature shoe in his line with Nike. Alright, so for the last half of this review, I'll cover more of the materials and the performance side for both of these shoes to just kind of test how they hold up on the court. So starting off with cushioning, the KD14 features a full-length Air Zoom strobel unit stitched directly into the upper, which does keep this shoe soft yet responsive. And these have a Cushlon foam in the midsole, so that's going to be there to kind of absorb the impact while also keeping a comfy feel. And then for the LeBron 18, these use a full-length Zoom Air unit with some additional Max Air kind of placed underneath the heel that kind of extends up the shoe. So, both lines definitely put out a comfortable model for this year. And then ranging back, that's kind of been a pretty consistent focal point for both the KD and the LeBron shoe line. They definitely have a lot to like for comfort. And I will say that these kind of three air bubbles that kind of run up the tongue, they do lead to a little bit of like some mild discomfort. But, whenever I was walking around in them for the first time, it just didn't feel all that natural. But, you definitely start to get used to it. It's like a really small problem, if you even want to call it that, and it does go away. So for the materials, both of these shoes do have some better stuff than you'll find on some other shoe lines since we aren't really looking at cheap models. So the KD14 has a multi-layer mesh upper with some added thickness in certain areas to kind of keep your foot in place, and it does lead to a really controlled feel. The lateral containment on the KDs, it holds up really well. And of course, you do have that added strap on there, but, I can't really say that that does a ton for the support in general, but, it also doesn't really need to because you're pretty locked in as it is. And then for the LeBron 18, these feature a Knitposit 2.0 design for the upper that was designed to keep these breathable. And, while these do allow your foot to breathe, and I do like the look for it, the support was a little bit questionable on this shoe. So like on hard movements, I can feel a little too much give to that kind of mesh upper. And, I even had my heel slipping out of the shoe from time to time whenever I was running. So I just kind of had a hard time getting my foot to kind of feel strapped down. And whenever I reviewed these individually a while ago, I even sort of like turned my ankle. So, I can't really say the LeBron 18s, I can't say I'm that impressed as far as like the support goes. So to finish off with traction, the KD14 played off of last year's model a little bit with that kind of small oval pattern that, that does a lot of the side to side coverage, while the longer lines are going to kind of handle the front to back movements. So, honestly, these have a pretty well-rounded traction setup. They aren't super sticky, but they still grip the floor nice. I don't really recall slipping in them ever since I started playing in them a while back. But as for the Lebron 18, I was hoping for a little bit more in this area. They do have a diamond pattern in the front half of the shoe that kind of transitions into like a bumpy design or something along those lines in the back. But, I did find myself kind of slipping on hard or quick movements. The traction may have gotten a little bit better from last year's model, but, if it did, it wasn't by much. But as for sizing, true to size should work for both of these models. The Lebron 18 is a little bit heavy with all the materials that they built into the shoe. So while the KD14 isn't necessarily light, you can definitely feel a difference between the two. So for the final ratings, I think both of these designs are sweet. So I'm just going to leave that section as a tie. Both shoe lines have produced some really nice models over the years. I think it's crazy to think about how LeBron's about to hit his 20th signature shoe and KD's already on number 14. But, moving on to the cushion, both of these shoes give you a super comfy feel to play in. One of my knocks for the Lebrons would be that bubble on the tongue. It can get a little bit annoying, but in general, both shoes are definitely comfortable. So I'm just going to leave that a tie as well. And then moving on to materials, neither one of these shoes really cut costs in that area. So KD's line obviously added that strap, and then the Lebron has that knit posit setup, so there's not really clear separation there, but the KD14 does start to pull away whenever it comes to support. You get a consistently locked in feel with the KDs, but the Lebron 18s just kind of gives you too much wiggle room around the ankle and just not really enough coverage for those side-to-side movements is what it feels like when you play in them. But as for traction, I'm going to have to side with the KD14s there too. I mean, the pattern works really well, and while the Lebrons maybe took a step forward from last year's 17 model, it was a baby step for sure. So honestly, that's going to lead to the KD14 winning this performance battle. So, with the Lebron 18s having such a high retail price at $200, there's just some things I would have liked to see be a little bit more consistent, such as the support and the traction. But for the KD14, there just really isn't a noticeable weakness. This is honestly one of my favorite shoes on the market right now. But, just in case you want a little bit more of an in-depth review on each shoe, we do have individual reviews live where I go a little bit deeper into these models, so feel free to check that out. And if you're interested in purchasing one or both of these shoes, just check out the links in the description below, and feel free to leave a comment below if you like this video, or just letting us know any other shoes you may want us to check out. But until next review, I'm Landon from Shoeware. Peace.